bad self-talk. We don't need to be negative self-talk in this world or in this industry.
But nobody wants to talk about it.
I'm the best. Like, I know what I'm doing. Like,
if you wouldn't buy their lifestyle, you shouldn't buy their opinions.
And then they think they're the hot shit.
We've worked through a ton of communication and like just hard times. We had to like fight it out to like learn how we're gonna make this thing work. Because we both want it to work.
How toxic.
It is toxic. I know what I'm offering, and I know I'm like the good one around here. So like, go do you, and I'm gonna do me. But don't expect me to share my whole
all my secrets,
and my secret sauce with you.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Totem Podcast. Remember that an act of rebellion is to question. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, we'd appreciate if you do. 90% of our viewers are not subscribed, and we've passed over 200,000 viewers. So you guys should actually go do us a solid and go subscribe. But of course, we always got here Eric.
What's going on, guys? We're here. We're ready. We got a very special guest today. And we had a pretty interesting event last night, too. Yeah, hopefully we can talk a little bit about.
We'll talk a little bit about it, but we love having badass women doing stuff, not being scared of the typical, I guess, businessmen in the industry. So, Julie,
There's
welcome.
Lots of them. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. This is such an honor, and you guys have grown something amazing here. So I'm really happy to be here. My name is Julie Stiewig. I manage the Block Commissary Kitchen and Events in Fort Morgan. It's the old Country Stakeout building, for those that don't know. We switched hands over there in fall of 2021, so we are entered into our third year. We've seen a lot of changes, a lot of good, a lot of lessons, and we're just really happy to be part of this community. So,
first of all, I appreciate you for coming on, and also for having us on the event we had a few days ago. But yeah, so why did you want to put an event like that together?
Yeah, so the Mastering the Market panel discussion came to be. My friend and colleague Bree Womack manages After Hours Cocktail Bar, which is the bar inside the block. So they hold a liquor license for all of our events. They get to kind of capture those, but also run their own business. And we work very closely with things that go on there, and we are always bouncing marketing ideas off of each other. We're like, did that work for you? Is this working? How'd you create that? And we were like, just noticing that everyone else we were talking to in the business world was struggling with marketing. Everyone's just a little lost. Like, they have some rhythms down. They're like, yeah, I have my Facebook or I have my website, but I need it to be better. I'm not getting as many views or things like that. So it kind of came spur of the moment. We also were talking to Mikhail with his marketing business, and kind of came to this idea of putting a panel on. There's so many local experts in the marketing realm. So we were like, let's give them this platform. A huge value of mine with the block is never try and reinvent the wheel. And so I think by pulling those people that were already doing it, you guys know what you're doing. You do it every day, you live it. And everyone else on that panel has that experience too. So we were able to let them talk. And we just kind of took the back seat moderating and invited local businesses all over Fort Morgan to come. So, yeah.
Yeah, we had multiple people come up to us afterwards, and they're like, oh, it's so cool that you guys like put this on, because there's never really been anything related to that around here.
That's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. We do hope to keep it going. So it was totally donation based. We weren't taking a profit from that, but we hope to put those funds to the next one. We were able to provide some food from High Plains Culinary that's opening today. But, I think small business owners taking time out of their day like that, evenings are precious. If you're working, if you're waking up at 6, you're at the office or you're on the computer, and the day flies by when you're a small business owner. You're going 100 different directions, and for them to take the time out for themselves, they're investing in their business to make it better and making those connections that'll help them in the future, hopefully. So,
why do you think that a lot of business owners, I mean, you can tell us from your personal experience, but because we had a lot of people come up to us afterwards also, like they're like, oh yeah, we're all having the same problems, like we're dealing with this and stuff, but nobody wants to talk about it. Why do you think that is?
I think that's a very good point. That vulnerability in business, like, it's hard. it's hard to be emotional. And I think that's something that being a woman in the business world, I was also in ag for a long time, working with a lot of men, and being emotional in both of those settings is really hard. You're having to face hard feelings. You realize you're struggling or that you're not doing something well, and you have to be able to sit with yourself and be like, what do I need to do to face this, and to sit with the feeling and to move forward from that? Because if you don't, you're just kind of in a loop, you know, you're getting bad self-talk. We don't need to be negative self-talk in this world or in this industry. We're all human. And I think when you have to put that out in front of other people that you're struggling, that's even harder. And people don't want that that judgment or like that shamefulness. And I think you got to sit with those feelings. They're real. They're valid just as much as being happy or celebrating your success. So I think having those discussions, and they can chat with each other, hopefully in a comfortable setting, then they can grow a little more that way.
Yeah, I think the emotional side of it is like does come from more from the women, I believe, and then for the men, I think it's like the ego gets in the way.
Sure.
Because for a lot of men, we're like, no, like I'm the best. Like I know what I'm doing. Like you don't need to tell me anything that I'm not already doing, because I already know what's going on. But then in reality, they don't want to just face the truth and like, no, I'm not that good.
Yeah.
You know, I do
and
need
say
some
it out
help.
loud.
And they just have that conversation with like other business owners who are probably having the same struggles, but nobody wants to air out their laundry, I guess.
Exactly.
But
And
to kind of add to that, though, Eric, it depends if you're taking your advice from who's telling you, like, oh, we need to do this better. And if they're not really doing it, then it's hard to be like...
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Because... say like in business, someone's like, oh no, you need to do this, but they're not doing it in their business, or they're not having the results that you want to achieve. So you're just like, yeah.
In order to grow your Facebook and Instagram, you need to be posting every day, twice a day, but then they're posting like once a month.
Yeah.
Then it's like, how do you know?
How do you trust? How do you build that trust first before you're taking advice? Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's why like social media does that great thing where it just bombards us with so much stuff, and it's like a facade. I think I talked about it yesterday. That it creates this whole thing that our business should be run this way. You need to do this to be able to do it. And in reality, I think we all get away from like, I guess what grows your business is to listen to the consumer. Mm-hmm. And we let the ego kind of get in the way. You're like, what are you going to tell me? You know, like this is my business. And that's where you stop growing, I think.
Yeah, you shut those channels of your mind off, and you got to keep them open. You got to be able to pivot instead of just hit a wall.
And it's also like at the beginning, people start to get a little bit of like success going, and then they think that they're the hot shit,
and they got it figured out. Yeah, exactly.
And then that might have worked because your new business, you're starting out, people are interested in what you got going on, but then it's like, what are you doing to keep them there?
Totally.
What are you doing to keep them coming back?
Totally.
Because most of it too, I think most of them when you open a business is like. It's the hype, say going off to food. Everyone wants to try it. Once they tried it and they had it, like, okay, are they going to keep coming back?
Yeah, what's keeping them coming
back? Was
it
good enough for them to come back?
Because there's a difference between like selling a thing and then for them like being a client.
Yeah.
Because a client is someone that keeps coming back.
It's so many factors.
They don't come back. I mean, something happened.
Yeah, exactly. And the factors that go into that customer's experience, you know, like, yeah, maybe the food was bomb, but how's your service? Was it like welcoming, or was it awkward, or, you know, do you feel like you were in the way, or it's just so many things that you have to keep at a high standard.
That's one thing we were talking about yesterday. It's like, do you actually need to be doing marketing? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, marketing is going to solve my problems, but then it's what's the product or service you're marketing? Is it good enough? Because maybe you want to market a service and it's a piece of shit.
Exactly.
If we're being honest. And it's like, first you need to fix like the internal part of your business, and then once that's going, you got that good, then okay, I can take it to the next level.
Exactly.
Actually bring more people in, because if you don't, then you're going to be bringing in people who are seeing your shitty service, your shitty product, and then they're for sure not going to come back.
Yeah.
You know,
and that might make it worse.
Yeah.
So you know what a lot of business owners should do? Like that show, The Undercover Boss, where they go. Because like a lot of them, they have restaurants like, nah, we're good. I don't know why we're not making more money. Like, well, have you seen how your waiters and waitresses talk to your client? The
Are
people
you
that come
sitting in that seat and see if it's comfortable while you're being served?
So the experience that they're having, and it's like you can have
the best food, but if your service sucks,
Exactly.
especially now, it's going to run like wildfire. Someone's going to make a post on you, a social media, like, don't go there, or whatever it is.
A video even, like,
Yeah.
so fast. Yeah. I think keeping that consistency too, like with whatever you start with, no matter what kind of business you are, like have some sort of mission statement to stay consistent with, to like bring you back to why you started, and make sure that you're staying there. Like people will give you so much feedback. You should do this, you should do that. But before you know it, you've lost everything that you started with, and you're unhappy because that's not what you wanted in the first place. You're not with your, like, aligned with your passion and what you're trying to give the world. But that consistency is absolutely key. Like you can grow and change, but you still need to have that foundation of why you got there too.
So
Yeah.
you can listen to other people's opinions and kind of like their advice, but then it's like who you choose to take the advice from.
Yeah.
That is what matters.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
you're
if you
not going
wouldn't
to be everything to everyone. So, yeah.
It's like if you wouldn't, I have it like, if you wouldn't buy their lifestyle, you shouldn't buy their opinions. They're going to be like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like everyone's always going to tell you what you need to do and not do. But once you you can listen to everything, but once you take that internally and actually start doing, like taking action on what they told you, you bought into it, whether you want to do it or not.
So true.
But what it brings me to my other point is a lot of business owners, I think, I don't think I know, they put a different persona on for their business. Like it's not them. And that's where the whole branding is. You're not being transparent, because when they're in business, they're one person. They're out of business, they're like,
Yes.
I get to relax.
You see them
Yeah.
at the bar, they're all getting all drunk and
Like
wasted.
totally
Like,
different.
but you don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like with us, I'll have people, they can call me out if they want. I'm always like the same person. Like if I'm going to talk shit to you in person, I'm gonna talk, whatever it is, And that's the thing with a lot of business owners that they don't do, I think. They're off work and they turn it off. It's like, no, like
Yeah.
that's a type of branding. Like how you walk, how you dress, how you treat other people. Like that's branding.
Yeah.
But people don't see it. Everyone thinks branding is like, it's the hat, it's the shirt,
logo,
it's
yeah.
the logo. Like you got a lot to learn.
So true.
Cupcake.
When you got
Yeah.
good branding is when they could see you and know what you stand for, know what your business is without even having any sort of logo on you.
Exactly. That brings so much more depth to the business too. Like it doesn't have to be just transactional. It's what you're doing every day. You should enjoy it and make it part of you too. Especially like rural living, like we see each other a lot more often than maybe like a bigger city where you don't run into each other, whatever. Like it's a lot smaller basis to be seen. So you got to keep that consistent.
I'm curious to know, you said you were in ag and then now in business. What have been like the biggest challenges of you being a female in the industry?
It goes way back. I guess this is like a glaring story that's always in my mind. But
Let's hear it.
my first like real ag job, I was working for the Colorado State Forest Service. So there's like our National Forest Service agency, and this is just for all the trees in Colorado. So I was doing some outreach and education there. And with that job, there was a lot of public education. I was doing all the events. I was going into schools. And we had a dress code that we had to follow. They had like polo shirts for us and everything like that, but they only had men's shirts. So I would put the shirt on and it's just like frumpy and like square and huge, and I never felt like professional or confident. And then they're sending me out to deliver their message. So one of my other colleagues and I, she was a huge push for this, but she took it to the state level and literally like presented at the Capitol that women aren't having clothing that fit them when they're going out into the field. And I was like so inspired by her because she made it happen. She saw this problem. And even though we were surrounded by men foresters, there was like the director was a man. Our boss luckily wasn't. She was a woman. And most of like the outreach and education was female. But beyond that, it's the guys in the forest. They're walking around with chainsaws all day, and they're not caring about the chicks. So that was just one story that I was like, oh my God, it comes into my mind so often, like just that total inequality of a female in the workplace, and that they ultimately, at that time, I hope it's changed by now because it's been like 10 years, but I hope that, or at that time, it like didn't change. Like in my time at the Forest Service, I still didn't get a shirt that fit. So
That's crazy.
it was. And it's like when you're working with a state agency, there's so much red tape to work around. So it's not like we could just like go get a thing logoed. Like it had to run through this person and that person and this person to be like approved. And I was shocked, but I think that that's really stuck with me as I went into farming. And then I actually own my own farm now too with my partner, and who is a man. So there's, we've come a long way with our communication and how do we work together? How do we show up? Because he's been raised in ag a certain way, and that's not always how I like to be talked to or like to work through a problem. So we've worked through a ton of communication and like just hard times. We had to like fight it out to like learn how we're gonna make this thing work. So we both want it to work, but we were showing up to projects like already frustrated because I didn't want to be talked down to. And he's just trying to get the job done. Like men have this way of just like seeing the end, and you just got to get there, and you're not discussing it, and you just got to get it done. And I'm like, but what if we did it this way? How do you feel about this? And we've gotten there. It's been 3 years of that business, luckily. So we're gonna make it happen. But
do you think that's necessary to have someone that has two different points of view in something?
I think it's helped us a lot now that we're on the other side of it.
But do you think it's necessary? Because if it helps you, I think it might be different than if it's necessary.
If it's necessary, I guess I'm trying to think, like, if you're working by yourself, how do you keep that other point of view? Like, are you considering other options, or, are you balancing out a different way? Or are you really just in your own mind?
I'm just asking because I do think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because you need somebody to like sometimes like men, like my wife will do the same. Sometimes we just start doing it and she's like, if you would have done it this way, you would have been done 30 minutes ago. And I was like, well, I'm just so focused on it.
Yeah.
Or even in business.
Yeah.
That's why I think businesses need like some sort of like consultant seeing it from a different scope.
Totally. Yeah, I definitely see that. You should be kind of challenged. Keep yourself challenged, or else you just get in those same systems all the time.
That same routine.
Yeah.
What about, and then now into like the business, how, I guess, what things have you seen, like challenges with like business owners now, especially because your age too, they'll be like, you're the manager of this place. Like, what are you going to tell me? I've been doing this for 30 years.
Oh, I've gotten that.
How do you work around that?
because there's like a lot of businesses that use your guys' space and stuff too.
There are quite a few, and I think that came from some of that other ag experience with being challenged as a younger person and a female. That's one of those things where I look back on like my past job experiences and how everything literally leads you up to where you are now. Like so many random lessons that I was like, I'll never use that. Like that comes back into play. So I think what you guys are saying about being authentic and you show up as yourself, I really try and present that as well and be very like human, which sometimes gets me in trouble because then I become more of a friend and I get really like invested. I see businesses start at the kitchen and I see people have their like first business planning review. They have their first grand opening or their soft opening. They have their first slow day and they're bummed. And I'm right there with all of that, and how I can like keep supporting them, but not either get to like, you guys should try this or try that, or like I want to be a support system for them, but I don't want to tell them what to do with their business. And then I also have to draw a boundary where I'm like, it's not my business. That's their entity. I have mine to work on, and I will be that support system, but only up to a certain point before it gets like, I don't want to say toxic, but like it just gets unhealthy, I guess.
No, it's toxic. It is toxic.
How hard is that though? Because
it's really hard.
Because you see a ton of it too. Like the businesses, some of them are probably making the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah, and you try and share that.
Hold yourself back, and how hard is that though?
It is hard. I try, and just really share resources. There's a lot of like Small Business Development Center, or Startup Colorado is another really cool organization that has a lot of different resources. They have it regionally separated. They have it separated by industry. You can join all these different like Zoom meetings, and I try and just share resources. So it's like someone else's message, I could just pass it on, and then I can kind of follow up and be like, how's that going? Like, have you guys hit any bumps that you need extra support on? But I'm not the one like watching to see what's going on. But yeah, it's tricky. It is.
I think everybody, like we were saying, I think they should all have some sort of like business consultant, not just be like, I went to school for this and I learned it and now I'm going to just go in there and do it. Like, you actually have to have someone, I think, take advice from someone that's actually in the grind, that's actually doing it,
Or who has done it before.
That has done it before, that's doing it. Like, a lot of those businesses, I think they should like maybe like get a business consulting, like just a day, they don't have to hire them forever, but just like a business consultation, like, hey, I'm thinking doing XYZ. Do you think this will work? Like, or stuff like that.
I think
so.
Too, like,
I know a guy, so
exactly.
I know a guy out there
Yeah.
that does that.
And I think it got brought up last night at the panel. What are other people in your industry doing? And we're not competing. We're doing this together and trying to make relationships with them. Like, when we started the block, we met with some of the other event centers in town, and we were like, hey, this is what we're doing. What do you guys do? So we can pass on business to you if it doesn't quite fit what we're doing. And having those conversations, so you can also be like, hey, I'm struggling with this and this. We're in the same industry. We're the ones doing it.
How's the what kind of feedback did you get back from that?
It was, some people didn't show up. We put out an invite, and some people came, some people didn't, which is fine. I mean, that's their deal. And I think that when the block got going, we had a very clear vision of being collaborative, and we've led with that and stuck with it. And that's what makes the block work, is you have 3 different business running open at one time in the building, and they're all kind of connected somehow, but they're focused on what they're doing, and it makes it really well-rounded. So I think that, when you're doing that with other people in your industry, just whoever shows up and decides to stay on that path with you is the ones that you want. But, you can't be friends with everybody either. So
I think to a certain extent there is some competition. Like, yes, like we want to like help each other out, be collaborative. Like I know the struggle was like starting us. Like, I'm gonna kind of give you a few pointers so you can kind of get going.
Yeah.
But then to a certain level, it's like, all right, like you got to go do your thing, and I'm gonna do my thing, because I know what I'm offering, and I know I'm like the good one around here. So like,
totally
go do you, and I'm gonna do me. But we can still like bounce ideas off of each other every once in a while. But don't expect me to share my whole
all my secrets,
and my secret sauce with you.
That's totally fair. It's like healthy competition that keeps us, leveling up.
You need that, like how you said, just to keep leveling up. Because if you're the only person in town who has an event space, then you don't need to constantly keep the floors clean. You don't need to keep the bathrooms clean. You don't need to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because people are going to go anyways.
Right. You're not
but
trying to be like...
if you have other people doing the same thing, then you got to keep leveling up.
I definitely hear that.
And that's really interesting. Because here it goes for all the business owners that are listening to this. When we decided to do to go in business, we went out there. Someone else was, most times they were doing something similar to us. And we're just like, I can do it better. That's our kind of like our ego talking. Like, I can do it better. They're doing shitty stuff. I can do it way better. And we have that ego thing. And then as we start, we're not doing it better. So we start like, oh, let me tone down a little bit. It's like, where'd that fire go?
Yeah.
Where'd the fire go of like, these guys are doing it better, and I'm gonna do it better than them. That's why you started a business, because you've seen that you could do it better. And then you get to a certain extent, life starts kicking your ass a little bit, and then you just start like, I better just shut the fuck up. I better just relax a little bit, not get too crazy, not get too vocal with the stuff. And like I said yesterday, I think somebody asked, they're asking like, how could you get more like clients or something? I don't remember exactly the question, but I think what I told him is I
think it was like how you can market yourself in a small town and then maybe eventually expand.
Oh yeah, I was like, once you believe in what you do, like you should think that people are crazy of not working with you, if you really, really believe in what you're doing. Like, because this is really going to benefit you, yourself as a consumer, your business, whatever. And if you don't think like 100% that way, like, I don't think you're ever going to grow. Like, and I said, I'm guilty of it. When you start off, you're just like, I don't want to make people uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to step too much in the weeds. I better just stay in the lane. And I was like, no, you got to get to a point where you're just like,
full send.
fuck that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that gets easier too. I think at the beginning, it's very nerve-wracking to get started.
Scary.
And people are like, what are you doing? And you don't want any bad feedback or else I'll cry. And it's like, but then you learn, you learn there's people that aren't going to like what you're doing. It's fine. You can move on.
Yeah. And one of the times last night, I think one of the questions was like, oh, what do you do in your business once it starts to slow down or like your off season? And then everybody's kind of giving like their answer, their tips and stuff. And then here comes Monico, just like
laying it on the table, putting
Don't
it raw.
be slow.
Why would you want? Like, if I'm making, let's say my business is making just say $1,000 a month, and then I go to making 1,000 to like 10,000 a month, like, you're living a way better life. Your family has a better life. You have options. I think money to a point, you can buy some freedom and you got more options. Why would you want to slow down?
Yeah.
The only thing you want to slow down is because you're scared, I think, or you don't know what way to go.
Yeah.
Or you're lying to yourself, and it's not doing as great, I think.
And maybe undervaluing the things like marketing or planning or reflecting, like I thought of that question with our farming season. So it went from, we plant in February. We have a little greenhouse, so we get a bunch of stuff started in February, and then it's wrapping up usually like October. But then those winter months, what does that look like? Like, we are slow. We're not selling product. We might have some honey left over. We might have, some like pumpkins or like root vegetables, but we're having planning meetings during those months. Even though it's me and my fiance, we're sitting down as a business meeting talking about what we want to do next. And we're ordering seeds, and we're thinking about marketing and thinking about what the garden layout's going to be and all that stuff. So it's like you still have to hold those like often pushed aside aspects of your business. You got to hold those at that same value as like what you're actually doing is growing vegetables and selling them. That off season, like, that's when you fill in with everything else that you like put off when you're at your highest peak season, I guess.
A little bit more personal question. I don't know if you want to answer it. How do you have those conversations with your fiance? Because it's like, here's your business partner, but then he's your fiance. Like, you don't want to say shit too crazy to piss him off because he's your fiance, but you need to have the tough conversations.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
It's been a lot. We've gotten through a lot of tough conversations, but I think something that I had to come back to when we started our business together, we signed in 50-50, we contribute 50-50, and then we had to figure out the tasks that we were going to do and not overlap, because he's really good at some things that I'm not, and I'm really good at some things he's not. And at first we were both trying to do all of it, and that's where a lot of the conflict came. It was like, no, we just need to get all this done, and we just like stress. Like, I think about that and I just get stressed. But I'd say probably in the past like 2 years, we've learned to really step back first. You gotta take a breather, and we've really practiced like not raising our voices and taking a break if we need to, if it gets a little tense. It's a relationship first. We are not a business first, and we don't want to ruin that either. So I think like taking those steps, the communication is just so key. Like, I will literally just say, hey, I think we should, take a minute, or he'll say that, and you got to respect it too. Like, I think sometimes when people ask for that space, it pisses the other person off, and they're like, oh, like, you don't want to just, they get defensive. And
where
it's
are you
like,
going? Come back here.
Yes. And we don't need that. Like, that's not the point here. So I think being the receiver of that, you got to like, okay, I hear you. And you come back and it's like, cool. You didn't spend the whole rest of the day in a fight, and you're getting the job done that you needed to. And, everyone wakes up in the morning. And, I think that continuing that way, we're always going to have challenges. There's always stress. We did a lot more markets this year than we have in the past, and that was a lot of coordinating. Like, we live out in Weldona, but I'm often in town, and so sometimes a lot of like the loading and getting ready would fall on Kevin, and I'm like, I'll meet you there and we'll get set up and stuff. But like, there's just so much communication that it's not worth it to be spending it irritated and defensive with each other.
Would you agree though that when you're going through the grind, you're going through the struggle,
Oh
you're
my
like
God.
you're not making money, shit's not working, like
Why isn't our tomato selling?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's because conversations like me and my wife, like sometimes it's easy just to be like, just take a breather, but when you're actually going through it,
It's just-
and then I have my kids over here yelling in the back.
Oh
you're
my
just
gosh.
like, oh shit, like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's so I mean it get for me personally,
you're
like
pissed off, and your kids are just in the background laughing, having
Yeah.
a good time.
they're just and I'm just like, and there's days like I'm completely open about stuff. So there's days when I get home, it's like shit didn't go that good, and I just tell my wife like,
Yeah.
I'm just going straight, and I tell them like, don't talk to me, I'm gonna go work out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get to that thing like, the parents, they just yell at their kids or something. Like,
Oh my
you go
God.
work out. You can't be mad and gasping for air at the same time. Trust me.
So
one
true.
of them's gonna win.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that taking that balance of it all, like you have your work, you have your life with your family, you have you time, and how are you going to balance all of that? Because it's all valid and it all needs to happen to like keep you at your best self.
How do you make you time with running the block and your business? Like, how do you manage to be like, it's me time now?
I think it's a practice. It's something that I have not been good at in the past. I worked a job for a while that I totally let myself go. I wasn't eating breakfast, lunch. I would come home exhausted and pissed and starving. I would say yes to everything at that job. I loved it.
Was it the
But-
tree cutting stuff? Or
No, I managed a hemp farm or a hemp grow. So I was like in the greenhouses and in the field. But we also did distilling. We also had, we would do seed. It was like a very well-rounded hemp business. And I loved it. I loved growing. I loved kind of having that lead position to like make some decisions and be really involved in the business. But it was like 45 minutes away from my house. So I was getting up super early, driving there every morning. I was watering on the weekends. I was watering on Christmas. I was watering, nonstop. You gotta take care of those plants. But it got to a point where I was like experiencing extreme anxiety and depression and not eating and taking care of myself. I completely lost my workout routine, which was something that I loved for a very long time and like wouldn't give up. And then all of a sudden it's just gone. So, really had to open my eyes to how toxic that job was. And I ended up getting laid off in COVID. So a lot of cannabis businesses went down in COVID, especially the smaller ones.
I thought they would have gotten up like, during COVID.
You
People
would
were just at
think.
home.
People were just chilling at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think. But we dissolved, and then I was kind of at this point where I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like all of that I just poured into was gone and over. And I'm still working on recovering from that. And that was like 4 years ago. So time for me, to get back to your question, workouts and yoga has been a huge thing for me to take a brain break. I try and fit that in as much as possible, even if it's like a walk down my driveway or a quick like 20-minute yoga session. I feel like a little bit is better than nothing. If you can just even 10 minutes, like whatever, a little bit of that, like I checked that box off for the day. I got that in my system, and that's going to support, kind of counteract stress that comes along down the road. I recently started like going to Gloco for some of their classes too, and that's been fun to have more of a community because I've been doing so much of it just solo.
Gloco is the
yoga and bar studio.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, they have cycling.
Do they do cycling? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they Pelotons?
I don't know. I haven't done a cycling class there.
Okay. Just wondering, do you hear the Peloton?
I heard some of it, but I don't know.
We'll just like go Dana White with Peloton, but it's
Oh yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. But I think like building that community again has been nice. I also just love being outside. So any moment that I can just, be outside, walking through the garden or walking my dog, that's my happy place. So prioritizing that. I'm a huge like concert goer. So I always love to have a couple concerts like on the calendar. Something to look forward to has helped me a lot, and to know that like that day you have that and it's on the calendar and it's valid just as much as, the business meeting or whatever. So
I think everybody's me time should be some sort of physical activity.
yeah.
When people hear me talk about like, oh, going to work out, they think like heavy lifting and doing all this stuff, going on 10-mile runs or whatever. First of all, I can't do a 10-mile run.
No, hell no.
But it's just
Or you can't lift either.
No.
I'm just kidding.
okay. But it gives. I mean, if you just live a healthier lifestyle, you're gonna live a better overall life.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a healthier life. But then it also, for business aspects, it gets your blood flowing. It gets blood flowing through your brain. And you get so many new ideas while you're working out.
Exactly.
While you're just, I mean, it doesn't even have to be like doing a bike ride or anything. It could just be going on a walk, like you said. Just take it. If you have dogs, please take them out for a walk.
Yes.
Because that's a big problem that I
Yeah.
see, especially if people living in apartments and stuff.
Yeah, they just sit
But
there.
just even going on a walk, just taking a break, taking a step back from the computer or the desk, going on a walk, that'll get people's brain flowing, and they'll be able to just come with like a fresh perspective to
Yes.
to a situation.
So true.
Yeah.
It ripples throughout so many aspects of your life. You know, you sleep better, you eat better, typically. I think it's a huge benefit but it's like the easiest thing to let go of sometimes. You're like, oh, I'm too tired, or, you know, like I don't have time, or I don't want to drive to the gym. There's so many excuses. I've talked myself out of it a million times, and I wish I didn't.
I think for a lot of people, it's easy at the beginning,
Yeah.
once they're starting out, because they're not used to it. But I've actually, like, for the past probably 3 years now, I've like dedicated to it.
Love it.
And now I feel off if I don't go.
Yeah.
Like the week of my wedding, I was like so stressed out, so I didn't go work out at all, and I regret it.
Yeah.
Because then that next Monday, I went to the gym, and I didn't do a lot because I was like tired, hungover, whatever.
Yeah.
But I felt good. Like you feel like yourself.
That's your
again.
solace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think once you just start a routine, you just make it a part of your life. You're just gonna stick with it, and you're gonna do it.
Yes. Even just put it on your calendar. Like getting started again, I had to literally like put it on my work calendar. Like yoga's at 6:30 tonight. You're going, just like you're going to show up for that meeting. You're prioritizing it.
I was just, as you were talking, I was just kind of tying it all together for you. Like, have you always been like that since you were young? Because you started like that other job you said you had, like with the tree stuff. So it was always like outdoors, like with, I guess it would be like plants, trees, growing stuff. And then the other one, hemp, it was kind of like the same thing. And now your guys is all your stuff that you guys do now. Do you think that, have you always been like that? Like since you were young?
Definitely outdoorsy, I would say.
Okay.
I grew up going to Vermont every summer and Washington State on each side of my family. And those are very like outdoor focused places that we would visit. And I think that was like instilled in me very young. The ag stuff is totally random. Like I grew up in Fort Collins, and there's like small farms and veggie farms and things like that, but it's not conventional ag like this or anything. And I think that was something that I had to validate for myself, that I really loved and was good at growing anything. And that wasn't something that like when you're like in 6th grade and they're like, what do you want to do? What are you going to be? Like I never thought farmer. That never once came in my mind, because it's like I didn't validate what I actually loved doing. I felt like I had to have this big, like I was going to be like a psychologist and all this stuff and go to school for 20 years. And then
I have a friend, if he's listening, he knows who he is, but the teacher would always ask him that, and he'd be like, I'm going to be a farmer, because his family had a big successful farm.
Yeah.
And the teachers would always get mad. It's like,
You're not
'cause
gonna, like, that's
you're not going
not-
to be able to do anything with your life,
Yeah.
or they're trying to convince him to go to college.
it's
It's
so
like,
wrong.
Dude,
No.
farmers got money, dude. If you see them, they go to a dealer. You know how much one of those tractors cost? Like
A lot.
All the money
those
gets put
things
back
are really
into play.
expensive.
Yeah.
And they can go to a dealership, buy trucks cash. Like farmers got money. Like don't let that, just because they're dirty and stuff, don't let that fool you.
Yeah, I think there's that like lack of education. There's all these like misconceptions about farming, and it's like it's such an important job to me. You're working with the earth, like, and this earth is the only thing we have, and it supports our life. Why aren't we working for the earth every day? And that's, you know, I'd never like accepted that in myself until I found myself in these jobs. Like I did farms for the past 10 years and can't stop growing. And so now we have our own, you know, like you learn a lot through that. It's a very traditional focused business, or I guess like industry. You know, there's a lot of tradition. People are taught how to do it a certain way, and it's hard to change those things. But with our changing world too, I think people are starting to, because starting to consider like organic farming and not spraying chemicals all over our food because it's, causing so many awful diseases, and that's rippling through our generations too, and we don't want that. So
so we can go on a conversation for that, like
Yeah.
all the glycogen and stuff that's actually like in the fertilizers and stuff. Oh my God.
and how do we go back? You can't. So what are we doing to change that moving forward? We can't keep doing that same thing. It's not working.
Yeah.
But still honoring where all these people came from, because you can't go tell a farmer, you can't do what you did, what you're doing. Like, this is wrong. They've been doing that for generations, and you got to respect where they've come from too. But
I'm curious, what brought you down to Fort Morgan? Because you said you were in Fort Collins. Sometimes your biggest failure can be like a blessing in disguise. Like,
Sure.
they laid you off during COVID. I mean, I don't know when you actually moved down here, but why'd you come down here?
shout out to Kevin, my fiance.
Is he from the area?
He's from Aldona.
Okay.
Yep. So we had moved around. We met up in Fort Collins, and then we got jobs in Wyoming, and then moved back to Fort Collins again, and we moved out to Vermont. And then he's like, I need to get back to the ranch. So we did. And when we moved, so I got laid off in June of 2021. And I was like, we were like the last wave of that business to get laid off. It was a huge bummer, sad day, but it was a blessing in disguise. We moved out here in September, and I thought that I was going to work on his family farm, and it just didn't work out. They have their systems, and I respect that. It's father son, it's uncle cousin, and they have what they need going down. They didn't really need extra help, so. I ended up working at a different it was a greenhouse and brush, and still trying to stay in the ag industry in some aspect. And then that one didn't work out either, and then the block came around. So we started Two Drifters Farm that was May of 2021, right before we moved out here. We had bought a greenhouse ourselves that we were going to try and grow hemp in, and that didn't work along with that business. We were kind of trying to be like a satellite for that business. And then when all that disintegrated, we decided we were going to do the veggies and flowers, which has been great. I think that really complements like the local food system, and we're trying to grow clean food for our community.
How much, if you don't mind asking, I don't know if you want to answer it either, but how many businesses have you like started and they don't work, and started and they don't go? Most times is when we're starting a business owner, like, it's your first business you start, you're like, this is the one, like, and I'm sorry to tell you, like, that's probably not the one, because you probably have to, you fail in a couple businesses, like, for us and with Inceptions, like, we got a track record of
This isn't our first rodeo.
It's not the first rodeo, so you kind of know what's working, not working.
Totally.
But for you, like, it seems like you said you're trying this and it doesn't work, you're trying this, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I guess the hemp farm didn't work, and then the greenhouse just wasn't a good fit for me. They're still going, but it just didn't work out for me as like an employee there. So it had a similar essence to the hemp farm in how leadership was running, and I just started feeling a lot of those similar feelings of like stress and anxiety, and felt like it wasn't going to be a healthy thing for me to stay there. So yeah, that was one that I made that choice to leave, I guess, if the business didn't fail or anything. But yeah, and I mean, Two Drifters, the one that Kevin and I started, that's been a challenge. Like, we've definitely had plummets of like, do we need to keep going? And then like, no, we're gonna keep it going. But he's got his thing, I've got my things too, so it's a balance there.
That's interesting. I heard a quote of, his name is Naval, I forgot his last name, but he talks about when you climb up a mountain, you're climbing up the mountain, you get to the top of the mountain, you're just like, yeah, I'm on top. The thing is that when you actually see it in retrospect, it was just a little hill. And to be able to get to the other mountain's over there, but you can't just jump over. You have to climb down the mountain again, and then start climbing up again. And a lot of people don't do that. They'd rather just stay there.
Yeah.
But in the reality, there's way more mountain. There's always going to be a bigger mountain to climb. But the thing, to get to the other mountain, you have to climb down and start over.
So true.
And people are so scared to start over.
They really are. It's the unknown. It's change. We don't like change as humans. We like our habits. But
I want to go back to something you said at the beginning, that you have at the blog, you have Bree to kind of like bounce ideas off of and stuff. How important or necessary do you think that is for other people to have in their business? Just like, whether it's like a business partner or just like someone to like get advice from, a consultant or someone.
Yeah.
How important do you think
That's
that is?
necessary.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bree and I lucked out majorly. We weren't like friends before. We didn't know each other at all. And like I remember meeting her and I was like, cool, like similar age. I guess that helps, you know, we're both female. That helps. But we are very different, and like learning each other through business first, and then we're like, oh, you're pretty cool. Like we're kind of, we can vibe with this, and then that makes our businesses better too, I think, because we both believe in it. When we show up for our shifts, we're proud to be there. And that makes a difference in everything you do. You know, it's kind of that other, like you're showing up authentically, even though your product is this, what are you? What is your service like when you're in that space? So I think having someone that's believing and like keeping you in check too as you move forward is absolutely key.
I think that keeping in check is important.
Yeah.
'Cause if it's just you think you're the hot shit, so you think whatever you do is going to be like a great idea.
Yeah.
But then that's like, you have her, she's like,
Nah.
no.
Let's do it this way.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you were saying like you guys' personalities were different for like the event. Like she has this notes and you're just like, I'm winging it.
Yeah.
Let's go. So I think there's always good to have the balance. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think you need both.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had some good times. Some of those events, we just look at each other and we're just like, oh my God, all right, we're getting through it. But you have her to lean on for that, you know? Like our very first event, we got our butts handed to us. It was our very first like big party at the block. I am the only employee for the block. I don't have staff like keeping an eye on things or anything. So Bree has her bartending staff and I bartend as well. So a lot of the big events, I'll be there watching all that together. But like we had no idea. And there's kids like drinking in the parking lot. Our like bathroom got spray painted and
Spray painted.
a door broke. And I was just like, oh my God. But now we look at that day, now we have security. We got, you know, the liquor license is all like, we have all of those defined. We have signs everywhere. We have people watching. We have, you know, we've learned so much through actually doing it and not being told how to do it. You know, we had to learn the hard way. But,
Side note, what kind of things are you doing? You show up to spray paint to a party.
oh my God. It's
Who
kids.
does that?
Those kids. But,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. A lot of stuff got tagged that night. And, you know, that's not really what we want the block to be at all. We want people to respect it when they're in there. And, you know, we want it to feel like it's theirs when they're in the kitchen or if they're running a restaurant or, you know, we just had the Magic Bean open as well this week, a new cafe space in there. And we want it to feel like it's theirs if they're putting that investment in, but you can't disrespect it either. It's a very special place. So
what new things do you guys have going on for the next couple months for the block or your farming business?
For the block, like I said, we just had the Magic Bean open. Sugar Beet Treats is also operating out of there for the winter. So they were one of our pretty frequent food trailers for Food Truck Fridays and for our farmers market. But she's able to be inside for the winter at the cafe, which is really exciting. And then High Plains Culinary is opening today, and tomorrow is their technical grand opening. They'll be doing cooking classes and restaurants in the block. So he is originally from Brush and was in Denver teaching at Cook Street Culinary School, and he's coming back to kind of bring what he learned back home. So his menu's looking really good. There's a lot of new items, but on kind of like new twists on classical dishes, I guess. We also have a lot of Christmas parties coming up, you know, private company parties that are really fun. It's nice to see everyone take a break and be celebrated too. And then coming up in the new year, we'll be working on Food Truck Fridays again for the warm months. I'll also be doing the farmers market again. That went really well this past summer and is something that was a huge goal of mine to accomplish at the block. So we've kind of broadened our reach through northeastern Colorado, and we're starting to see farmers come in from like Akron, and we had some in Yuma that were bringing their stuff down. So that's really fun to see. And that also gives Two Drifters, our farm another opportunity to sell at market. So, yeah, we got some fun things. After Hours always has really good events going on. They do trivia twice a month and bingo once a month, usually live music kind of sprinkled through. They have karaoke next Wednesday if anyone has family in town and needs to get out some energy.
I heard Erick's a good singer.
Yeah, let's get it.
I'm good. Yeah.
So yeah, the bar's always thinking on events, and we try and like last night was a collaboration between the two of us. So hopefully we'll keep mastering the market going as well, and focus on different areas of marketing, I guess, that people are kind of being vocal about.
That's awesome. No,
Yeah.
we appreciate you for being with us,
Well,
giving
thank
us some
you.
insight to all the stuff. Love the stuff you're doing. Keep pushing the agenda. Pushing the agenda with all the stuff. I like it.
Thank you.
And if people wanted to know a little bit more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so the Block's Facebook page has all my info on there. Email or phone is the best for me. My number is 970-768-7301. Or you can find my email on our Facebook page too. But I'm there most days. Something the Block, I think people are a little confused on still, is we're open based on reservations. So it's not like I'm sitting at my office 9 to 5. I'm there when there's events, or the building's open because of a kitchen member or the bar or the cafe. So if our bright open sign is on, come on in. One of us will be in there. But thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for all the insights. And
Yeah.
yeah. So guys, remember that an act of rebellion is to question. If you haven't yet, smash that subscribe button. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.